Hello, family. This is Wade back again. I promised you guys that I would come back tonight and give you some scriptures. We were talking last night about why people are so afraid. And I'm talking, I want to stress, we're talking about married folks now. Why is it that so many, especially church folk, why are we so afraid of sexuality? And went through it last night to show you. I told you I was going to come back and I was going to give you some scriptures where the Bible talks about it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to tell you about is Genesis. Genesis, the first chapter, and is the 22nd verse. And it reads something like this. This is the first commandment that God gave man. The first commandment was to be fruitful and to multiply. And this only going to come through sexuality between married folk. I mean, if you in the street, it'll come that way too, but we're not even talking about that. We're talking about married folks tonight. Okay, if you want to read that, go to Genesis, and it's the first chapter, the 22nd verse, and it'll talk about God giving the commandments to Adam and Eve to come together to replenish the earth. And the other one is found in Proverbs, the 5th chapter, verses 18 through 19. And it said, "Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth." Tonight, we're going to be talking about marriage. So that this is feeding right up to it. And it say, "Let her be as a loving hind and a pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love." Now, these are Bible scriptures, folks. There's nothing dirty about this. God, I wish I could just get you guys to just change your mind about all the stuff that you've heard from your parents and from older folks, and some of you even from the churches that's afraid to talk about it. It's in the Bible. God did it, and it was His idea. Okay, the other one is, now we're talking again. I'm gonna stress on that until I get it through to you. We're talking, I wasn't always married, and I'm talking about myself. I've been out there. I've done some bad things, folks. I've done some bad things, and sexuality was among them. I regret it now, but I can't go back. All I can do is ask God to forgive me and go on now. Okay, Hebrews 13:4. Now this is for you people that's having trouble with intercourse between married folk. He said, "Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed is undefiled. But the whoremongers and the adulterers, God will judge." So if you are there whoremongering around, you having sex outside of marriage, then you're going to be in trouble with God. You need to ask God to forgive you, and you need to get it right. Okay? All right. The next one is found in, and this is deep right here. This is really. Me and my wife have studied this scripture, and it's really deep. And it's saying some things that some of y'all ain't gonna like. Oh, no, I know he ain't talking about me. No way. So it's First Corinthians 7:1, and it said, "It is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication," that's fornication, they sex outside of marriage, "let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise the wife unto the husband." Benevolence is trying to think of a easy way, a good way to say it. It's what you need to do. Okay. All right. And then it says, the wife has not power over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband has no power over his body, but the wife does. Defraud ye not. That means to hold back on sexuality. You can't do that. Defraud not, except it be with consent, and it's for a time that you may give yourself to fasting and prayer. But when you get through fasting, come back together again. So what this is saying is, this is showing you how powerful marriage is, and what God expected, what God is putting into marriage. And it's so much so until even the spiritual part, you say, honey, I'm going to fast. And your spouse has a right to say no, because I need you. And the Bible says you can't go fasting. You got to take care of your mate. Now that's deep, folks. That's deep, because fasting is spiritual. Now, most women or most husbands, they won't do it. If the husband want to fast, most of the wives will say, go ahead, baby, I'm behind you, and vice versa. But what they is saying here is, you really have the right to say no, because your spouse needs you. Boy, that is deep. That is deep. That is deep. I love it though. So that's really all I want to say tonight about that. I just wanted to bring you up because I promised I was going to give you some scriptures. But I want to talk to you tonight for a little while about marriage. I'm sure there are some of you listening right now that want to be married and you're not married. But I got a couple of real good stories, and they're true. They're not just stories, they're facts, they're true. And because I came to Michigan when I was 21 years old, and I wanted to get married so bad, but I didn't get married until I was 24. So I know what it's like to want to get married, and it seems like you just can't find anybody. I was engaged to a girl, but for 9 months, but it broke up. But I just want to tell you, me and my wife been married for, I told you last night, we've been married for 54 years. And I just want to tell you the story. I want you Christian folks to get down now, sit down and listen to this, because this is spiritual, is what I'm about to say. You know, God is a good God. And if you ask God and you believe God, whatever you ask for, the Bible says it should be given to you. So why not ask for a wife or a husband? Okay? Now, the way I met my wife was really, it was really spiritual. It really, really was. She lived in Columbus, Ohio, and she had moved to Michigan. She stayed with her brother. Okay, so some of you might remember, some of your older folk, when you used to go to the store, they give you these little stamps. Some of them was called TV stamps, and some was green, and some was yellow. And what you would do is you had a little book, and every time you went to the store, they give you a certain amount of stamps to put in your book. So when you got so many stamps in your books, you could trade it in for something real good. And you ain't gonna believe this, but what happened is I was going to a very small church. We didn't even have a piano. And but this lady, one of the ministers in our church, she saved 500 books of TV stamps, and that was enough for us to purchase a piano. So we were so happy to get it. I was living about 31 miles outside of the city of Detroit, and my wife was living in Detroit at the time. And at the time, we didn't even know each other. So the church that she went to had a great big choir. A tremendous choir. They was good. Anytime anybody had a big program, they would call this particular church, and they wanted them to bring their choir to sing in the program. So this particular time, like I said, she was going to this church. And so one of my friends, they had become friends. And so he asked her, he asked her, he said, D, he said, you want to ride up to this little town, small town? And at the time, she told my lady she wasn't feeling good. She said, no, I don't feel good. He said, but this will make you feel. Come on and go with this guy. We're going to go to this little town and our choir's going to sing. Okay, so when we got, so he talked her into it, and she came, and the choir came, and I was an usher, but I still remember this. I was late coming to church that particular night. And so when I came in, the choir was all downstairs, you know, they was getting ready. And I saw this girl. So I came upstairs and I saw one of my friends that was from the church. And I said, Mommy, who is that girl downstairs? And I remember he said, does she have on a white coat? I said, I didn't see no coat. He said, oh, he told me what her name was. He said, I'll introduce you to her when she come up. So I said, that'd be great. So I'm standing back at the back door ushering. And this girl came up and sat next to this guy. And he said, Wade, come here. He said, I'm going to introduce you to D. So I went over. He introduced me. But that wasn't the girl that I saw. I looked at her. I said, that's not who I saw, but this is even better. The girl was beautiful. I mean, the girl out of sight. I get chills sometimes just thinking about it. So she come in. And she, when I asked her her name, she smiled and told me her name. And I went back to the door. Before I could get back to the door where I was ushering, I forget her name. And so every time I get a little break, I would go there. I said, man, one more time, what did you say your name was? And she would tell me, but she had the prettiest teeth. She had a pretty nose. She had pretty lips. She had pretty hair. She had a beautiful shape. She didn't weigh but 98 pounds, but it was all together. And I'm telling you, I was so excited. I didn't know what to do. I went 6 times to her and asked her what her name was. Now, when we talked about it, she laughed. She said, I should have known something then. You couldn't even remember my name. I said, girl, every time you looked at me, you were so pretty. All I could see was beauty. So the choir got up and they sung. You know how when the choir, they had this big, thing that this singing event, and they'll sing so many songs, and then they'll go and they'll rest. They'll go for intermission. So I was in a group with 3 other guys. Now listen to this, guys. Listen to this, people. It was 4 of us, and the tallest one in the group was an inch taller than me. I'm 5'5", and he was 5'6", and all the rest of us was the same height. So we went up there, and I made a little joke. I told the people, listen, all you guys that need to go to the restroom right now, it's the time to go, because we think the same, especially behind that choir. Those guys could sing. And so, but it was 45 minutes later after I had met her. We was up there singing. And she said, while we were singing, now this is the first time we had ever seen each other. And while we were singing, she said, the Lord said to her, that's your husband up there. And she said, she said, I know you ain't talking about one of them little short men up there. Because she always said she wanted a tall man. So after we got married, I asked her, why did you want a tall man? She said, because I just felt like I was more protected with a tall man than a short man. I said, honey, I can tear some kneecaps up. And so after church was over, I went over there again. I said, ma'am, I want your name, I want your phone number, and I want your address, because I'm coming to see you. And she reached in her purse, and she had I still remember a long white envelope. And she wrote all of that on that envelope. But in those days, I was super spiritual, you guys. I was super spiritual. I wasn't going to miss no church. So I told her, listen, I'm coming down, but I can't come down until Thursday. Now, that was Sunday. Because we had Monday prayer meeting, Tuesday Bible study. We had something all 3 days. 3 of the days. And so I got a phone number. Sure enough, we started talking on the phone. And so that Thursday, I said, I'm going to see this girl. And I told him to come to see her. God, y'all gonna laugh at me now. I had a bottle of Listerine that I took with me. I had some aftershave lotion. I had chewing gum. I had cologne. And when I got to her house, I gargled my throat. I put cologne on my face. I sprayed myself with cologne. And all that mint and chewing gum was in my mouth. And when I walked up to the door, oh boy. Now this is a good story, y'all, but it's true. She came to the door, her husband, her brother had a beautiful home. But when she would come to the door, you had to come down through the hallway. Now this is 54 years later, and I still remember what she had on. She came down. I saw her walking down that hallway, and when I looked in there, and when I saw her coming, I said, God, if I'm dreaming, please don't even let me wake up, because I can't believe this. She came to the door and she smiled, and I just went, oh man, you just messed me up. So we went into the basement, and so she was very religious, very religious. So we went down the basement, and she put on some records. They wasn't love songs, they were spiritual records. And I'm sitting there, so finally I said, honey, these ain't the kind of records we trying to get together. These ain't the kind of records. I don't want to hear no spiritual record right now. She said, well, that's all I have. So she turned it off. And so, look, guys, I messed up now. I'm really messed up. I said, this girl can have anybody that she wants. Why would she want a little old me? Because I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself in those days. So I finally, I'm talking, I'm trying to get in there. I said, listen, can I hold your hands? She said, sure. Oh, God. Her hands just felt good. Everything about that girl. And then I held hands and my heart was just pounding. And then I finally said, can I hug you? She said, sure. Now, that was our second time ever seeing each other. So I hugged her, and I'm telling you, I was going to pieces. And then I looked at her, and I said, I asked her, I say, can I kiss you? She said, sure. And so we came together and we kissed, but our lips just met. And I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for some action, right? And our lips just together. So I pulled away. I said, honey, have you ever heard of French kissing? She said, is that what I'm supposed to do? I said, yes, ma'am. So we did. Oh, I remember you guys. Let me backtrack a minute because I missed something very important. She came down that hallway. She had on a red pleated skirt. She had on a white blouse with red polka dots. She had on some house shoes that were multiple colors. I was about to go crazy. So I asked her, remember, that was my first time being with her alone. And I said, I want to marry you. She said, marry me? She said, you don't even know me. I said, oh, yes, I do. I know you because I've been praying for you. I've been praying and asking God to give me a wife. And sure enough, there was 3 of us in the church. One of them had been married before, but his wife had died. And they was preaching, but I wasn't preaching at the time. But I was a member of the church. And every day, you guys, not exaggerating, 7 days a week, every day, the one guy had a car. And he would come and pick up the other 2 of us. And we would pray for a wife. We just prayed, God, send me a wife. God, send brother a wife. Send this brother a wife. And we would do that 3 times every day. And so the miracles, this is a miracle. So I told my wife, I say, you know what? I say, I want to marry you. And I said, the next time we get together, I want the answer. So the next time we got together, it was 14 days. So she had a sister that lived in Pennsylvania, right outside Youngstown. And we went there, And when we walked into the house, their grandfather, well, her sister's husband, grandfather was living with him. And I still remember it. He was an older guy. He was laying against the door. And when we walked in, he's never seen us before. And he said, "That's love. I see love right there." And boy, I was so happy. I said, "Brother," and I'm sorry that I said that. Don't be sorry. But it was so ironic. I mean, things began to happen that was scary. When I walked in, her sister, that was her sister's first time seeing me. So we walked in, and she looked at me, and she told my wife, she said, "That's that guy." And I'm looking at them, what guy is she talking about? Well, they had it wasn't a revival, a camp meeting, and it was right up there by the house. And we would all go to the camp meeting. So I was up there one time, and she saw me, and I just stuck with her. She still remembered the color of my coat. And she said, "You had a big old Bible in your hand, and every time the preacher would say something good, you would jump up and slap that big old Bible." So I said, "Wow." So we were sitting there talking, and they had a grandfather's clock. And we talked until midnight. I was sitting on the arm of the couch. My wife was sitting down on the couch, and I had my arms around her. And so when that clock struck 12, I looked down at her. I said, "I want the answer." She looked up at me and smiled. She said, "Yes, wait, I'll marry you." She said, "I don't know why I'm saying yes, but yes, I'll marry you." And bingo, 54 years later. And the other side of the story was, remember, all three of us were praying, and all three of us ended up with beautiful lives. But the guy that owned the car, we had a revival that night. A very good speaker. His name was Horace Shepherd, and he was dynamic. So he came to run a revival for us. He came from Philadelphia, and so he was up and he was just preaching. I mean, this guy was gone, you guys. I mean, he was gone, and all of a sudden he just stopped preaching, and he just looked down, and everybody looked, and he pointed to the audience. He said, "You, what's your name?" And all of us were saying, "Me? No, not you, the other guy." He finally got around to the guy. He said, "What's your name?" He told him what his name was. He said, "Your wife is in my church." Now remember, that was we was praying, all of us was praying for wives. He said, "Your wife is in my church." And he said, "I'm so sure of that. Till when the revival is over, I'm going to buy you a plane ticket and fly you back to my church so you can meet her." Okay, he was right and he was wrong. Let me explain that. So sure enough, they went back. But when I say he was right, the woman that he was talking about was in his church, but she didn't show up that night. Another woman showed up. And so this is who the guy fell in love with and married. They've been married over 60 years. And then my other buddy, he found a beautiful wife. So we was all had beautiful, beautiful wives. And let me tell you guys something. Marriage is a wonderful thing. There is nothing in the world can compare with a marriage, a happy marriage. But you know what? I want to tell y'all something. I told you last night, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage. So you young folks out there that's looking for a husband or wife, get together and pray. Pray and ask God, just send me a husband, send me a wife. And if you're sincere, and if you've done what you're supposed to do, God will do that. And like I say, we've been married for all of those years, 3 kids, but okay, I'm gonna drop the bomb. We haven't always got along. And I have made her angry. She has made me angry. But the thing with us is, and like I tell her, the little things that we argue about don't amount to a hill of beans. But it's just, she was real sensitive. I was sensitive. And sometimes she say, "You don't talk to me right." And then I would tell her something about her. But we even got so far until, it wasn't nothing but the devil. We were thinking one time about maybe we need to depart. I said, no, I prayed too hard for this. And sure enough, we fixed that thing. And I'm gonna tell y'all a little something that you need to learn. I want you to try this, all of you married folk. I might have told you last night, but if I did, I'm gonna tell you again. For those that weren't here last night, I want to tell you something. We had a class in church. It's called marriage counseling, and so what we did is our pastor brought all of us together. She brought, I had a woman pastor at the time, and she brought 18 couples together, and we was in this class. And one chapter was really, really good. I want y'all to just try this. Just give it a try. I'm not telling you anything wrong. I'm not telling you anything that I haven't tried. So what you had to do, you had to be a sender and a receiver. So this one lady, she was a nurse, and she said, I'll go first. And so she says, I won't call his name. I called him John. She said, John, she said, I'm a nurse. And she said, sometimes I get off work late and it's really dark. She said, I don't want to stop nowhere. So I just rush home. And when I get home, I really need to go to the bathroom real bad. I need to pee. Okay. I need to. And she said, when I walk in the house is dark. And then I get to the bathroom, the lights off and the seat is up. You left the seat up. She said, that makes me so mad. Okay. What would be his return? What would he say? The normal thing would be turn the lights on. But you see, you couldn't do that, because what this thing was all about is showing you how to really communicate. And so what he had to do, he had to listen to her. And he had to repeat back to her verbatim what she said. If he missed one word, they had to do it again. So what is that doing? That's teaching us how to communicate. Me and my wife do that right now. And so what he did, he repeated it back, but he missed one word. And then he had to say, I got it. She said, no, you didn't get it. Then she had to repeat it over again. And then he had to keep going until he could say everything she said verbatim. And what does that do? That teaches you how to communicate. That's communicating. And so what me and my wife is right now, and it can be so simple to me, what I'm saying is so clear, but she missed the whole thing. So what we started doing is, I say something to her, no matter how simple it seemed to me, I say to her, I said, honey, what did you just understand me to say? And people, sometimes what she come up with ain't even close to what I said. At least her interpretation of what I said. And so we would do that until, she'll repeat, then I got to repeat to her what she said, and then vice versa. So we got to the place that it started really working for us. And then the other one is cute. It's something that all of you can do. We had a church where we was just a basic church, but we started to do some things that other churches was doing, like dancing in the church, shouting. You had prophets and prophetess and the whole 9 yards. And so we wanted to do what they call the holy dance in the church. So they sent for a couple. I still remember there was a white couple from Nashville, Tennessee. And they came, and the man got up, and he was really telling us what we need to hear in marriage, what we needed to hear from the marriage class. So he was just telling us. He said, me and my wife never have arguments. I said to myself, oh, you all stop telling that lie. He said, we don't have arguments. And he said, I'm going to tell y'all why we don't have arguments. And I want y'all to listen to this, okay? I want you to practice it, because both of these things, what I just told you and what I'm telling you now, they work. He said, every night at 6 o'clock, and it's very important now for you to have a time. It could be 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. That's your meeting every night. And he said, every night they sit down to the table. And he starts, and he asks his wife, honey, is there anything that I have said or not said or have done are not done today to hurt you. Okay, then she's going to answer him. If she say yes, he going to say, what is it? Please tell me. And because I don't want to do it again. And then she'll tell him what it was. And they'll keep working on it until, okay, got it. And, you know, that really, I mean, it really, really worked. And then if she says, you haven't done anything, and then he said, well, thank the Lord. But now what do? We don't do that. We don't always hear what we think we hear from our mates. And so many times we go to bed on our anger. And you know what? The Bible over in Corinthians talks about that. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath. And some of you out there are so spiritual, but are you keeping that particular scripture? Do you go to bed angry with your spouse? No. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you, folks, it really works. Just stop, sit down, and ask your mate, what have I done today? If you haven't done anything, great. If you have done something, okay, now let's work on it. And 99 times out of 100, it's nothing like it sounded. Okay? Okay, folks, we're going to be talking about some chapters in this book. And most of the people that's got the book, they love it. That is, until you get to chapter 7 and 8. Because what I'm doing, I'm teaching how to be good wives, how to be good husbands, how to be good partners. And I'm teaching all of that. But one of the number one reason that I wrote this book, because in our church, we had a big church. And we had a gymnasium. As a matter of fact, the church was so big till we grew out of the sanctuary, so we had to go to the gym. So every Sunday after church, these 5 women, the same 5 women, would come together and they'd be talking. So I went and I say, how you guys doing? And they say, Pastor Hooks, we're so glad to see you. Okay, what's going on? Would you please talk to our husbands? Because they don't know what they're doing. I said, whoa, that is heavy. Now, but I didn't go to the husband and say, look, your wife sent me. I didn't do that. I waited until the next Sunday. And I went up and we just started a conversation. And we started talking about how you guys get along with your wives and husband, you know. Like, well, yeah, I'm doing fine. And I said, I'll tell them what they need to do. I don't need you to tell me because I know what to do. And I almost said that in what your wife said, but I didn't. I didn't say that. But I learned most of us, we don't know how, especially men. And let me say this. I know this is, y'all ain't gonna like it, but I'm talking about, and I ain't talking about no other race. I'm talking about our race. So many times we don't know how to love on our mates. Husbands don't know how to love on the wives. Wives don't know how to respond to love. And it's really, really bad. And this is the thing that I really want to leave with you. We got to learn how to make love to our spouse. Remember what I read? We got to learn how to love them. And husbands and wives, I'm telling you, we are totally different. The longer I stay married, the more I realize how different we are. We don't think alike. We don't solve problems alike. A husband, most men are fixers. Okay, what does that mean? If the wife come home from work and you ask her, honey, how did your day go? And brother, if you don't want to hear it, don't ask, because she's going to go through, she's going to tell you every detail. Women are just like that, just detail. Now, when the husband comes in, the wife can ask her husband, how did your day go? Fine. That it? I said fine. And so, and I had to learn that the hard way, because that was one of the things that we used to argue about, me and my wife all the time. And she would say, just talk to me, tell me some things, but I told you it went fine. And so what we need to learn to do is how we need to learn. You got to, okay, my wife likes to talk. So be talkative. Okay, let's talk about something. Don't just say something and quit. Let's sit down and talk about it. Every night before me and my wife go to bed, every night, We have Bible study. And it's not always the Bible. Some of the books that we got, that we studied in. But we always sit down and talk. And my wife was saying, she said, Wade, you know what? That's good. Say, when we talk, it really helps me. So I say, let's talk every night. Okay. What did you read in that book? What did you understand and what you didn't understand? And so we go over that. And how do you feel about it? What do you, I mean, just this type of thing. And most of the time it's really nothing, but it's something to her because she's been hurt. You didn't hug me today. Okay. So I found, okay, I'm gonna start hugging. And so I started doing some other things. I run some water, wash her feet and legs. I tried to do everything that I could to make her happy. And so we're doing okay. We're doing okay, but we still have some issues. So I want you to learn how to work on it. Come together, folks. Talk. Women especially learn how to talk. Now, some of you talk too much. But you got to learn how to communicate. And don't always get an understanding first. Just try what I just told you. Did I understand you to say A, B, and C? No, I heard D, E, and F. And you're in for trouble right there. So keep going back. Okay, let me say it again. So I had my wife to write down. I said, what I want you to do, I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to write down everything about me that disturbs you. Everything about me that disturbs you. And I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write everything about me that I think is good. So I went down. I ended up with 3 pages of what I think that I'm doing well. And you know how many pages she wrote? 0. I said, but when are you going to tell me? Okay, tell me what I'm doing wrong. How am I supposed to correct it if I don't know what you're talking about? And so we've been working on that. We've been talking. And okay, and some of the things, honey, I said, you so far in left field. I don't do that. And so I take care of her, and I promised her when we got married, I promised her that you would never have to worry about anything again because I'm going to take care of you. And I remember when we first got married, I was working for Ford Motor Company. I brought my check home, and she met me at the door, and I laid my check in her hand. Here, you do this. And sure enough, down through the years, I've taken care of her. And I'll tell her, I say, what you need to do, you need to go and talk to some other women. Talk to some other, just talk, get 100 women and y'all talk. And you'll find out that most of them are having a lot more problems than we are having. Because I make sure that she has spending money. I make sure that she got money for clothes, for rugs, and for, every month, because we retired. So every month I take money and just lay it on her bed. This is your money. This is for gas money, everything. And so we even save money for recreation. When we go out to eat, I'm not going to use I'm going to use money that I put away. I was in the money book. So you guys, if you get the book on money, I explain all of this. And it's doable. And it really works. So listen, folks, I really enjoyed talking to you. And I'm kind of glad to get through this book because I have been told by so many people, folks going to turn you off. People don't want to hear about sexuality. People don't want to hear you talk about your marriage. But somebody out there heard me. And somebody's going to practice that. Somebody's going to get married. And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And so we are going to be going, next we're going to be going into a book that's really, 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 really good. And it's like the Bible. And it's called 25 Keys to Unlocking the Scripture. So what we're going to do is you can get these at Barnes & Nobles. You can get them at Amazon. All you got to do is click on and tell them what you want, and tell him my name, Wade Hooks. And so we're going to go through this is going to be very, very interesting, because what I've done here, I have taken scriptures, a lot of scriptures they won't understand. And I have studied these scriptures, and I have put them all in this book. And it is an understanding. And so I can tell you, I can get you sort of wet your how they say it, wet your tongue or something. With this, what we're going to do is talk about some scriptures, like I say, that most of us don't understand. And one of the things that we're going to talk about, I had this when I was in Bible class, college. Our instructor told us that I want you to learn how to exegese. Exegese is a word that means to tear up. Use the 5 W questions: what, why, when, where, who, and apply that. When you look at the scripture, tear it up. Go in there and ask who, why. And so one of our instructors, she said, I want y'all to study the book about the prodigal son. The story about the prodigal son. And I want y'all to come back and tell me what's missing out of that story. So, oh man, I studied and I looked and I studied and I studied. I'm praying, Lord, show me what is missing in here. You know what? And most of you don't know. Not that you're dumb, but you just don't know. You didn't take the time. So what I did is I went and on my job, I just studied every day. I said, there's got to be something in here. Remember, you got to ask what, who, where, why, when. And so when I came back, we all came back and everybody had their head down. And the instructor said, let me see y'all's paper. Nobody could find it, but I said, I found it. What is missing? Okay, I'm gonna ask you, what is missing? I ought to give you an assignment, but I'm gonna be good to you. I'm gonna tell you, there's a very important part left out of that prodigal son story. Remember, the man had 2 sons, and the youngest son said, Father, I want my inheritance now. I'm leaving. I'm going to hell, a ball. So his father gave him his inheritance. He went down, and he was a Jew, and he went down and he blew all of his money. Every bit of it he blew. And he was so in such a bad shape until he ended up in the hog's pen, pig's pen. Now, what about, see, for a Jew in the Jewish race, that was the lowest you can get. And so he was down there. Now, the Bible doesn't say that he was actually eating it, but I believe he was. He was hungry. And so one day he said, you know what? I could do better than this. I'm going home. My father's got people that's working for him. And he had one brother. So he was the older brother. So he went home, stayed for a long time before he went home. And one day, one of the servants looked and told his father, guess who's coming? Your youngest son is coming. So the father ran out and he met him and he fell down on him and kissed him on his neck. Son, I'm so glad to have you back home. And he was so much so, he said that we'll have a party. When he heard his son come back, he killed the fatted calf, and they just had a big party welcoming the younger boy back home. Well, when the older son heard about it, he got mad. He told his father, he said, now I never left home, and you never killed the fatted calf for me. And his father said, son, I didn't have to kill the fatted calf for you. Everything I had, you had it. So, but this son, this your brother, he was lost and now he's found. So we are rejoicing. We are rejoicing. Okay. Now, let me get back to school. Let me get back to school. The answer to what she was trying to get us to see is, if you notice in that story, what was his mother? Never mentioned his mother. Not that that's so important, but what she was trying to teach us to do is learn how to tear up the streets, get everything out of it. And I was the only one that got it right. I was smart. I'm still smart. I ain't studying there. I know what y'all saying. So that was the answer. Nobody said anything about his mother. So when you're going through the scripture, tear up the scripture. That's what this book is about. And that's one of the stories in there. So I've already given you leeway. So you can go right over that. You're gonna know what it is because I've already told you. But the Lot and his daughters, everybody say it was incest, but was it incest? I'm going to explain that to you because there's something in there that's really deep that we're missing. Okay, folks, God bless you. Love you guys. Looking forward to seeing you again. And good Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow at 6. You know what I thought of that? I keep saying 6 o'clock. But we are on Eastern time. But some of you on Central time. So it's 6 o'clock Eastern time. Okay? All right. And we're going to talk about this. And when we get through with this book, you guys are going to have a knowledge that you never had before. We're going to talk about some things that you never even dreamed of talking about. I guarantee you that. Okay, look forward to seeing you. God bless you. Love you.